Back as 5th edition D&D was first released, I made a video where I discussed how I wanted Wizards of the Coast to handle releasing D&D books for the new edition. Back when I first made the video, I feared that 5th edition was going to suffer a similar fate to what 3rd edition, 3.5, and 4th edition suffered, which saw the market just flooded with supplements. I'll put a link to that video below in the description if you wanted to have a look at it, and I'll try to include it on the end card as well, just in case you wanted to kind of go back and see what my opinions were back then at that point in time. That being said, it's been a little over 2 years since I made that video, and as it turns out, I actually really had no reason to be overly concerned. The 5th edition release schedule has been surprisingly thin to date. So far, there's only been 11 books released thus far, 13 if you choose to include Dungeonology and Monsters and Heroes of the Realms, which is the D&D coloring book, as well as the starter set and the DM screen. But that's, as far as release has gone, in the little over 2 years since 5th edition came out, that's all that's been released. So let's quickly break down what the releases have been to date. So as I mentioned earlier, there was the starter set, the DM screen, and of course Dungeonology and a D&D themed coloring book. We've also seen the 3 core books released, the Player's Handbook, Dungeon Master's Guide, and Monster Manual. There's only been 2 actual dedicated supplements released so far for 5th edition D&D, and those were Sword Coast Adventurer's Guide and Volo's Guide to Monsters. Everything else that's been released to date has come in the form of pre-written campaigns or adventures. So what we have were Hoard of the Dragon Queen, Rise of Tiamat, Prince of the Apocalypse, Out of the Abyss, Curse of Strahd, and Storm King's Thunder. And that's the entirety of the 5th edition releases to date. Now, I still stand by what I said in that previous video. I don't want Wizards of the Coast to open the floodgates and release a slew of books to the market for the sake of releasing things, but I think there are some room for improvement as to what kind of products that they release and how they go about introducing certain types of products that haven't really been released so far yet in 5th edition. So what's going to follow is sort of my own personal opinion of what I'd like to see. Now, it's only my own personal opinion, so I don't claim to be like an industry insider or a marketing genius or anything like that. It's just kind of like what I want to see and what I'd be happy with Wizards of the Coast releasing from 2017 and going forward. So, with the introduction out of the way, let's just start off with some of the first things I'd like to see starting to release as of next year. A few years ago, I attended HalCon in Halifax, Nova Scotia, and the reason that I went there, one of the major reasons that I went there, is that one of the big guests attending that year was R.A. Salvatore, who is one of my all-time favorite authors. He did a Q&A, and he dropped some hints along that as he went along, that he, as well as other well-established Forgotten Realms authors, were going to be developing the 5th edition Forgotten Realms campaign setting. Now, at this point, I had no interest in D&D 5th edition. I didn't want to have anything to do with it, but the news that one of my favorite authors, as well as other novel writers, were going to be the ones behind the campaign setting itself, made me want to go out and buy that book. That was the one book, the Forgotten Realms campaign setting was going to be the only 5th edition book that I ever planned on purchasing at the time. Now, this was back in 2012, I believe it was, and 5th edition came out in 2014. Now, one of the things that I kind of liked about it is that the Forgotten Realms, which was my favorite setting overall in previous editions, was now the default setting for D&D 5th edition. So to me, it made absolutely perfect sense that they were going to release the Forgotten Realms campaign setting relatively soon into 5th edition's release. Now, again, 5th edition came out in 2014. This is now 2016, near the end of 2016, and as of yet, there's still no official 5th edition campaign setting for anything, let alone Forgotten Realms, which is their main setting. Some books, like Sword Coast Adventurer's Guide, Out of the Abyss, and Storm King's Thunder, have some information that you can use to build a campaign around, but that information covers a relatively small portion of Faerun. It's basically the Sword Coast, the Silver Marches, and the Underdark region, which is underneath the Sword Coast and the Silver Marches. There's a lot of Faerun left to explore, and in previous statements, Wizards of the Coast had alluded to the fact that DMs could reference previous materials for campaign settings, but this only benefits people that purchase the books from the earlier editions. For collectors, it's not such a big deal, but for new gamers, access to previous and out-of-print material can be difficult to come by. So what I'd like to see, ultimately my solution to this would have Wizards of the Coast releasing one dedicated campaign setting book per year. This could replace one of the 2 campaigns released each year. It doesn't necessarily have to, but it could replace one of those if they wanted to. The campaign setting should be released relatively early in the year, with a larger campaign similar to the ones that are currently being released coming out a few months later. The campaign setting should include an introductory adventure for levels 1 through 3 or 1 through 5 that are designed to ease players into the world. With the campaign book that's coming out later on being for either levels 1 through 10, which is something like Storm King's Thunder. That could pick up either after the introductory adventure from the campaign setting book, or it could have a simple adventure that would start the players at first level and be more closely tied to the published adventure. The first setting that I think should be released is the Forgotten Realms, if for no other reason than, as I said before, it is the official setting for 5th edition. After that, it would make sense for Wizards of the Coast to release Greyhawk, Dragonlance, and Eberron, although not necessarily in that order. With the published adventure book being set in that campaign world. And it could have a few notes for adapting it to other settings, which the Wizards of the Coast have done in some of the previous adventures being released. Now, if Wizards of the Coast still wants to have 2 full-fledged adventures released each year, then the first one that they release could be directly tied to the campaign setting, so it would be very much in line with the flavor of, say, Eberron, Dragonlance, Greyhawk, or, also the Forgotten Realms. And it would be the shorter of the 2 campaigns, so that could be like a levels 1 through 10 sort of thing to get the players used to the world. And then their second release, which usually takes place later in the year, the second campaign that they release could be like a levels 1 through 15, which is more generically set, so it defaults to being set in the Forgotten Realms, but could have easy conversion notes for introducing it to other campaign settings as well. I think this would be a great way of getting the campaign settings out. It doesn't flood, again, the market with a whole bunch of products being released at once, and even if they don't do it once per year, I'm assuming that with 5th edition they're kind of looking at sort of a long-term plan. So even if we go sort of a year in between campaign settings, it would be nice to actually have something actually fully dedicated to the flavor of the campaign setting, presenting a lot of great information about the world, providing maps, things of that nature. And again, it'd be a great way to help also publish or get those other pre-made campaigns into the hands of people that are interested in the particular campaign setting. So anyway, that's my thoughts on campaign settings, and next thing we'll do is we'll move on to various supplements. So as far as supplements go, I'm not horribly opposed to the idea of only one supplement per year, since having a year to work on it can allow for plenty of playtesting opportunities to ensure that whatever's released doesn't unbalance the game, as was the issue with previous versions of D&D. So rather than ask for more supplements, I prefer to discuss what supplements I think need to come out sooner rather than later. So the first supplement that I think is really important that gets released as soon as possible is some form of a Psionics handbook. Psionics has been a big part of D&D for quite some time, and in my opinion, this should probably be one of the next supplements to come out. If not the very next, then it could serve as sort of a tie-in supplement should Wizards of the Coast decide to release the Dark Sun campaign setting, which is very heavily built around psionics, so that features it as one of its main sort of mechanics. Either way, I think it's time for the Scion to make its debut in 5th edition. There have been some articles on the Wizards website discussing the introduction to Psionics, so I think it's something that people want, something that people are looking forward to having, and I hope that that's one of the next things that actually gets released. And again, easily tie it in if you wanted to have Dark Sun as your theme, have the campaign setting be released, and even if you don't have a campaign come out, maybe have a Psionics handbook that could be released along with it. Just sort of a thought on that, but I think Psionics, again, really needs to be part of 5th edition. The second type of supplement that I'd like to see would be some sort of alternate or expanded class book. So this should not be a series of books, like in 3rd edition had the complete series, 4th edition had the Power series. I don't want to see that, but I would like to see simply one book which contains some new backgrounds and some new class archetypes, like primal paths, bardic colleges, monastic traditions, things of that nature. It could also include new feats, new spells, and possibly some alternate classes. This book could be the final result of the Unearthed Arcana playtests that occur on the official Wizards website. Things like the revised Ranger was part of that, where they fully redid the Ranger class. So having an expanded class book with some alternate features would be a great place to have the fully realized revised Ranger be put in. A book like this can breathe new life into the game, and having elements of them put out for open playtest goes a long way to ensure that they are thoroughly tested before seeing publication. A book such as this could also feature spells, races, and magic items, possibly from other articles or even from some of the previously published adventures, to put them all into one easy place. So again, something like that I think would go a long ways. So that's kind of really it for supplements. I don't think there needs to be a whole ton of things. I mean, some new monster books along the lines of Volo's Guide to Monsters would also be really great. There were some admissions from that, so I kind of suspect that 5th edition is going to have a book similar to the Dragonomicon. So we'll see probably at some point in the future a big book on dragons, which is totally fine by me. But again, I don't want them to go too crazy with the books. And if they do release a Draconomicon, I kind of hope that it's all one volume and not split up into two like it was in 4th edition. Anyway, those are sort of my thoughts on supplements. The last thing that I really wanted to discuss is something that Wizards of the Coast has been really light on themselves, and that's going to be accessories. So, as I said, the last thing I want to discuss is 5th edition D&D accessories. I know that Gale Force 9 puts out some really useful aids like the spell cards and DM screens to accompany currently published adventures, and all that's absolutely fine and great. However, there are some accessories that I would like to see come directly from Wizards of the Coast themselves. That or have Gale Force 9 products be a little bit more widely available. For example, before I moved to where I'm currently living, I would have to drive over an hour and a half to reach the nearest store that might carry the spell cards or might carry the additional DM screens. While it's great to have local game shops to support, the sad reality is that not all towns have game stores. Having accessories available to book chains such as Chapters in Canada would make it a lot easier for more people. Those without game stores in their area to purchase these helpful items. There don't need to be a ton of these released. 1 or 2 accessories per year seems quite reasonable. But some of the items that I would like to see released, or that I think should be released, would start with number 1, official Dungeons & Dragons role-playing dice. So I'm fully aware that the 5th edition starter set does contain a basic set of dice, but it would be nice to see Wizards of the Coast actually release a full set. With a percentile die, with 46, and with an official D&D dice bag. So like this one here, this was the D&D Essentials line for 4th edition. This was the last official set of D&D dice put out by Wizards of the Coast. But it would be nice to see something like this come out. Now, they don't have to be different design than what's in the starter set. The dice that were in there were absolutely fantastic looking, and they looked actually just like these ones here. So they had this kind of same swirl pattern on them. Be absolutely great to see something like this. The reason for that, that I think that this would be a great idea, is it makes it easier for people to find sets of dice. It also makes it easier to find a set of dice that actually has 4 6-sided die in them. The last few game stores that I've gone into, it seems like the predominant sets of dice that I can find there now are the Chessex ones, which are just the 7 die set, similar to what would have come in the starter set, so it only has the 1 6-sided dice. So something like this I think would be great, especially if Wizards put it out and it became widely available for those individuals who don't have a game shop in their area. They'd still be able to go to their local bookstore and pick up a set of role-playing dice that's officially licensed by Wizards of the Coast. So that's one of the first things that I'd like to see. Now, the second thing, for people who've been watching a lot of my reviews, this probably isn't going to strike you as much of a surprise, but something that I really would like to see come back in some form or another would be map packs or dungeon tile sets. I kind of prefer Wizards of the Coast. Now, they do have their official line of miniatures that they do currently have out, being put out by WizKids currently. But they do support that product. However, that being said, they don't really support it very well. I mean, they've got the miniatures themselves, but there's really nothing that they have to use the miniatures on. I think releasing a set of map packs would be a really great way to help build up the miniatures line, because a lot of players do like to use miniatures. I know that Wizards of the Coast is kind of going for more of a theater of the mind thing with 5th edition, but the fact of the matter is that a lot of players just simply find it easier to have miniatures on a grid. So releasing a set of map packs, for example, or dungeon tiles would be absolutely fantastic. And if they wanted to, they could even release them as sort of tie-in products with their current campaigns going on. Now, they don't have to include maps for every single adventure location in a campaign, especially if it's one that's levels like 1 through 15, for example. It'd be really difficult to do that. But some of the more important locations, or ones that have some more heavy encounters in them, even if it's just certain sections of a dungeon, would be a lot more useful than having nothing being released so far. If they decided to go with the map pack version, even if they don't have it as a tie-in product with the D&D miniatures that are currently being released, they could release sort of a sheet of like little cardboard punch-out tokens that they had with the 4th edition products, just so that there's some form of representation. Now, that may be a little bit of wishful thinking, but it would be really nice to see some more support for the groups out there that still do like to use miniatures. And again, they've got a minis line, so to me it only makes sense. The third thing that I'd like to see released is some form of character sheets. Now, I'm going to be honest, I've never actually bought official D&D character sheets before. Now, that being said, it's something that I would actually consider nowadays. Printing off character sheets can get expensive. I mean, you got the ink and you got the paper all thrown in there. I recently went to go buy an ink cartridge for my printer, and the basic one, like the smallest capacity ink cartridge that they had, was over 20 bucks. Now, if I wanted to get the deluxe cartridge, which is, I think, I'm hoping at least 3 times the capacity of the basic one, I was looking at anywhere from 45 to 60 bucks. So that's a lot of money, and then you look at a stack of paper. Most of those go for about $5 to $10, depending on the quality of the paper. So it gets expensive, and if you expect to go through a lot of character sheets, having something officially put out by Wizards of the Coast might ease the burden a little bit when it comes to the financial cost of printing off multiple character sheets. Now, one of the things that they've done in the past with a lot of their pre-release character sheets is they really made them very stylized and kind of ornate looking, and that's not what I want to see with a product like this. I don't want it to be in a fancy packaging or anything. Something as simple as a tear pad with a double-sided character sheet that's stripped down from what we have now with the 3-sheet version. But if they wanted to have a double-sided one with, the main front sheet as it is, but then have the second sheet kind of be a combination of the spell and the traits sheet, I think would be a great way to go. And again, having it as like a tear pad with 50 sheets for something like $14.99, that doesn't seem like a bad price. Again, don't make them super fancy, don't make them look really pretty to the point where you don't want to use them. Just a basic sheet of paper that you tear off a pad, minimal packaging, really kind of keep the cost down, black and white. I think it's something that would be useful. And if they release something like that for 5th edition, I would honestly consider picking it up, just because I'm tired of going out and buying ink cartridges and reams of paper. So that's basically it. That's sort of what I want to talk about. I'd like to see what happens with D&D going forward. As of this point, there's been nothing announced beyond the last book to come out, which was Volo's Guide to Monsters. That's already out on shelves now, so they haven't actually gone over what they plan to do for 2017 yet. But things I would like to see announced, hopefully for next year, would be a campaign setting, fully fleshed out, not just bits and pieces thrown in with a campaign, an actual campaign setting book that goes over all the information for the entire world that the campaign setting is placed in. A campaign itself that's tied to that setting, with perhaps another longer, full-length campaign that could be set in any setting with ease. One supplement book and maybe one, possibly two accessories per year. If they take that sort of plan, it would work out to about 3 to 4 months between releases of books. So if they did the campaign setting, 2 adventures, and the supplement, they could release that once, one book every 3 months. So it's not going to be a huge burden. It's not going to be something that's going to be all front-loaded like in the past where they'd have 3 books to release all in the same month. I think it would be a very reasonable way of going about releasing things, and having one accessory released every 6 to 12 months, again, seems very reasonable. That being said, it would kind of take the releases up to maybe something roughly every 2 months if you have 2 supplements and 4 books being released. But I don't think that's, again, a huge investment to make. Again, with the campaigns, you can kind of pick and choose if you want to. You don't necessarily have to get everything. But having it so that there's something coming out a little bit more frequently may also help 5th edition continue to build momentum going forward. Anyway, that's sort of just my personal opinion, and it shouldn't be taken as anything more than that. I'm just wondering how you all feel about this. Are you okay with the current model with, one book released basically every 4 months, and that's basically it? Or would you like to see a little bit more come out? Please feel free to comment below. I certainly look forward to hearing your points of view on how you feel about the release schedule so far for 5th edition. And I'd love to hear what you guys think of my proposal. I'd like to hear if you guys have, obviously, alternatives. I'd love to hear that as well. So please feel free to comment below. I look forward to reading all of your comments. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.